It's been a while. Today we're going to be looking at another member of the 17-pounder and family of tanks in use with the British Army during the Second World War. And the vehicle we're going to be looking on today is the 17-pounder self-propelled Achilles. This is a vehicle which, in my opinion, is a little bit overshadowed, yet again, by the Firefly. However, what is the history of this remarkable vehicle, and what operational use did it have, which ended up garnering it a very powerful reputation? Well, all M10 chassis were built at the Fisher Tank Arsenal Grand Blanc in Michigan. However, in 1943 the British Army received 845 of these vehicles. They intend on replacing the M3 gun with their 17-pounder gun. This 17-pounder is a next-generation British gun. It is designed to penetrate that next level of German tanks, i.e. the Tigers and the Panthers, which the gun does do reliably. But they have no fast way of manoeuvring these things around. Vehicles like the Archer have been built, but the design is based on the Valentine chassis and has to be fired from behind over the engine deck, leaving it vulnerable to returning fire. The Firefly is still in the works, and the Challenger itself really is having some production difficulties at this time, so it is decided to convert these vehicles. As such, the vehicles in service are converted at the Royal Arsenal in Woolwich. The vehicle itself weighs in at just shy of 30 tons, and at a length of 7.1 meters, including the gun. It's hardly a dwarf. Of course, the main armament is the Ordnance QF 17-pounder, a 76.2mm gun. With 50 rounds available, this makes it a truly terrifying prospect to face. Secondary armament could also comprise of a 50 caliber machine gun, although Brens were also used in times of desperate need. The engine is a General Motors 6046 diesel twin 671. This two-stroke diesel engine series is a very effective type used in most Shermans and every other type of Sherman chassis. It's reliable, it does the job right, and with a power-to-weight ratio of 12.5 horsepower per ton on the VVS suspension, it is a very, very mobile machine. With an operational range of 300 kilometers and a maximum speed of 51 kilometers an hour, it was able to rapidly reach target objectives and engage enemy armor. So why was the 17-pounder preferred over the 3-inch gun that the Americans were mounting? Well, the M7 3-inch gun, to be quite frank, in 1943 lacked a serious degree of firepower. Yes, it was good at engaging things like Panzer IVs, but the Germans were now bringing out things like the Tigers and the Panthers. The 17-pounder had been built to deal with these, but the British had none of it, like I said earlier, had nothing that could mount it and engage it quickly. It was therefore decided to mount these things inside the M10s, with the 845 vehicles in 1943 being decided that they were being ordered to be converted. The plan was to have 1,000 of these M10s converted in time for the invasion of Normandy in June 1944. However, conversions were not started until April of 1944, and by D-Day only 124 of these vehicles had been converted. Despite this, in the post-D-Day time, and up to the end of the year, 816 of the M10s were converted, with 152 in November alone. Despite this, they couldn't make up for lost time, and most regiments in Normandy, whenever they lost Achilles, were forced to replace them with M10s, or just go into combat with M10s as they didn't have Achilles to begin with. The M10 is defined by the Royal Armoury as a self-propelled gun. It was therefore utilised by the Royal Artillery, not tank companies. This gave it some degree of flexibility, It meant that, unlike armoured regiments which would be assigned to a sector to work in, the Royal Artillery could be called out to do deployment options in various sectors of the front. It gave them a lot more flexibility and allowed them to use the tank destroyer like a tank destroyer. Go out, find the tank, find the tanks to destroy them, pull back, go to another objective. Indeed, the main thing about this vehicle was its ability to work in offensive roles alongside Churchill's, Sherman's and Cromwell's, and providing them with the heavy firepower should they come into contact with something like a Tiger. Indeed, the high velocity ammunition meant for this gun could penetrate 203mm of armour at 500 metres. The tank was used by the Royal Artillery and the Royal Canadian Artillery in armoured divisions or corps anti-tank regiments. A typical battery would include 4 batteries, 2 towed 17-pounder guns, 1 Achilles and 1 M10 battery. The M10 batteries would be replaced by a second Achilles battery as the vehicle became more available. To emphasise just how effective this vehicle was, in Normandy, during the Operation Charnwood, the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, south of Baron, was faced by a counterattack from the 12th SS Panzer Regiment, including a mix of Panzer IVs and Panthers. This force ran in to the anti-tank guns of the 245th Battery 62nd Anti-Tank Regiment. Their 17-pounder guns and the Achilles that were also in tow knocked out 13 German tanks that day, in one of the most successful anti-tank engagements of the entire Normandy campaign. For the loss of 4 self-propelled guns and a further 4 damaged, this seemed like a well-earned trade. The Achilles would go on to prove itself in multiple other fronts, often asking to be used by the Americans, who didn't have the punching power until the 90mm gun would come into service with them on the M36s. Indeed, the Achilles therefore garnered a well-earned reputation as being a true slaughterer of big cats. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that my absence has not been disturbing. Hopefully I plan to get one of these out, at least 2 a day. Hopefully get that up as things go on. I would like to thank the 3 subscribers and everyone else for the near 500 views that this has received, or that the previous video received. Again, thank you so much for all the support, and I'll see you next time.